Julian Sayin's best football may still be ahead of him.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Thursday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the number one sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And during today's show, we will discuss the different vibe inside the QB room, as well as Ryan Day's role in Julian Sayin's development. But first, Julian Sayin's first year as Ohio State's QB1 was great. He quickly showed the coaches he can digest and do more on the field than they thought he could early in the season. He led the country in completion percentage, and he put Ohio State in a position to have a shot to win a national championship. You can't complain about anything he did during his first year. But that was all in the past. What's coming up in 2026 is an opportunity for Julian Sayin to take the next step, to be a better quarterback, to be a guy who's not only a Heisman finalist, but to bring that trophy back to Columbus for the first time since 2006. And Julian Sayin has the ability right now to get better, which should be scary for everybody else outside of Columbus, Ohio. But for those of us that are fans of the Ohio State Buckeyes, you should be happy and have a big smile on your face thinking about Sayin having months to prepare for the upcoming season, knowing that Texas is circled and IU is circled and Oregon and USC and Iowa, all these schools that are on the schedule. You can't forget Michigan. You're circling all these dates saying these are dates where I got to play my best. And Sayin right now can prepare so that he does take the next step moving forward. I think part of the next step for him is some of this little details. Not big details for Sayin. Some of it's just a little detail. I remember right now thinking in my head about a bad throw he made in the Purdue game. And it wasn't the drop by Mylan Graham on the first drive of the game where maybe Sayin put the ball in a different area and it would have been caught. No, not that part. Not that little detail. A detail where he threw an interception in the red zone on third down where he held the ball too long. Nobody was open. Instead of throwing the ball away, he threw it to the defender. Purdue got an interception. And those moments right there are why Sayin didn't play as great as some thought, even with the slower offense. I'm not even going to say that the offense really was the biggest issue. No. A cleaner quarterback, a quarterback that knows, hey, throwing the ball away allows us to fight another play. That's great. That is winning football. Unless it's on fourth down, there's a different conversation there. But if you don't throw the ball away on third down, you allow your kicker to come on the field and to kick a short kick in a low-pressure situation that will allow you to put points on the board. Because that's what you want to do on the field, is put points on the board. And so I think for Sayin, it's more of the little details, not sometimes leaning into your first read as often as you did. He's going to have to work with different receivers this year. He still has Jeremiah Smith, which is great. You still got Brendan Ennis, which is phenomenal. But now you got Hunter Welsing and Mason Williams as tight ends that transferred to Ohio State, Devin McEwen and Kyle Parker transfer as receivers. You're working with different guys. And you can work with them now, build chemistry now, not even just on the field chemistry, off the field, just hanging out and being boys. That stuff is very pivotal and very big for Ohio State's quarterback to take the next step. Another area for me was Sayin to become a better quarterback, know when to run. And that's a very instinctual thing where some people will have the internal clock run out and you're gone. Where other people, their internal clock goes off, but then they still stay back there and try to throw the ball and move the ball with their arm. I think there were times of Sayin he can run, and he has shown the ability to be a very smart runner when he gets past the line of scrimmage with the ball in his hand. But not doing it as often as he should hurt the offense this past season. While he was a Heisman finalist, I think there were times that he could have maybe won the trophy if he knew, I got to run. I got to do some things with my legs. All of these things we're going to discuss when it comes to Sayin's development. These things are things he can learn this offseason and do a better job of next year. These aren't things where you're like, oh, he didn't do it last year, and I don't have a strong belief he can do it next year. No, I firmly believe that Sayin can get better, become a better passer when it comes to situational. Should I throw the ball away on third down? Should I run the ball on third down? What is the right option there? Is living for the field goal the right thing, or can I take this shot deep, knowing that it may be two guys right there, but it's JJ, and if there's 2-on-1 and JJ's the one, you believe your guy can get that ball. These are things you learn in film study in the offseason with your coaches coming in and working with you. Billy Fessel's, it's going to be a big year for him. A guy, when you're getting your second year as a full QB coach, or maybe it was a third year. I forget if he was a QB coach under Will Howard. Anyways, you get a guy for 2 years as a starting quarterback in Columbus, Ohio. A guy who was a Heisman finalist, a guy that some are even saying right now, not some, that FanDuel Sportsbook, our friends over there, have Julian Sayin with the fifth best betting odds to win the Heisman Trophy. This is a way too early prediction right now, but Arch Manning is first, CJ Carr second, Josh Hoover is third, Jeremiah Smith is fourth, Sayin is fifth, and then Gunnar Stockton is sixth. All these guys that are right there are kind of expected to be in the conversation. I think it's realistic that Jeremiah Smith and Sayin could both be Heisman finalists. And while you say maybe the quarterback and the receiver that are both on the same team, if they're both there, the award goes to the quarterback. Okay, there's also an opportunity that if JJ is there in year number 3 and he's now Heisman finalist, he could win the award. Because then you're looking at probably 15 touchdowns, 1,500 receiving yards, receptions are going to be through the roof. I think both guys have a legit shot to be Heisman finalists. But we're saying to be in this conversation right now, that's huge. But like anybody out there at Ohio State, you can't lean into what the betting what FanDuel Sportsbook is saying about you, or you can't even lean into what people like myself are saying about you. We are dissecting what happened last season and projecting what is going to happen in the fall. You got to do what you got to do to get better. And that's the main task for any quarterback or any player right now. You do what you have to do to get better. Because if you lean into what is said about you, either in the written word or the spoken word, that could derail your mentals. And you can get out there on the field next year and look and see what you have done and say, man, I was supposed to be better than this. What happened? Well, you allowed what people said and you allowed what people wrote to get inside your mind and get you off your path to be a better quarterback. If you compare Sayin's first year to the other first-year quarterbacks under Ryan Day, first-year starting quarterbacks, Sayin's is up there as being being a strong case, being one of the better seasons. Stroud had the most passing yards in year 1 as a starting quarterback with 4,400. Sayin had the highest completion percentage at 77.0. Stroud also had threw the most touchdowns at 44, and then Fields threw the fewest interceptions at 3. The one thing about CJ versus everybody else is CJ only played 12 games. This does not take into account Will Howard, but Will Howard wasn't a first-time starting quarterback in college. He was a first-time starting quarterback at Ohio State because he started for multiple years there at Kansas State. But Sayin's first year in Columbus, phenomenal. The numbers speak for themselves. Our eyeballs also tell a great story. But those are also reasons why we all believe Sayin, as he works on those details to become a better quarterback, he will take it the next step next year and be a better quarterback, run a stronger and smoother offense, maybe a little bit faster as well, as Ohio State strives to accomplish all their goals in 2026. As the Buckeyes are striving to accomplish all their goals in 2026, Ryan Day's position as the head coach is very pivotal in the development of Julian Sayin. We will discuss how Ohio State's head coach can help their QB1 develop in the offseason. That's coming up after the break. This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150. all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You'll be able to get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Buckeyes, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Discord server, which is a big old group chat for Buckeye fans like you and I. You'll get special all-access episodes of Locked On Buckeyes and one-on-one texting, which features Buckeye news sent right to your phone. Go to lockedonbuckeyes.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Ryan Day has done a great job when he's able to get a second year with a quarterback since he's been the head coach at Ohio State. Think about Fields in year 2. Think about Stroud in year 2. Those guys showed strides of getting better and being a more well-rounded quarterback in those seasons. And some of those, their biggest games, were in their second seasons. Stroud was actually, I think his biggest game was the Rose Bowl in 2021, but we cannot gloss over what Justin Fields did in 2020 in the playoff against Clemson when the Buckeyes beat the brakes off Clemson that day, sending them home and ending their season. Well, Ryan Day is a QB coach, but I think back to what he did with Will Howard when Will Howard transferred to Ohio State. Will Howard's spring practice that season, he gets on the field, and he's going through his normal mechanics and drop back that he used throughout multiple years at Kansas State. He sees what it works there, and he said, well, it worked here. It's going to work in Columbus too. He comes back, drops back, takes 2 hitches, throws the ball. Ryan Day immediately gets on Will Howard and said, what are you doing? Excuse me? What was that? And he was like, oh, this is what we did at Kansas State. He said, no. If you do all that, you're going to underthrow the receiver. And Will Howard is sitting here thinking, why is this coach getting on me like this? Did I make the right decision? Because what I've done my entire time in college is this. I get to this new place, and he's saying, no, this isn't it. The next thing you know, Will Howard changes his mechanics. You see it in real time in the season. Will Howard's arm got better. He got a stronger arm. He knew the timing a whole lot better. The next thing you know, the Buckeyes won a national championship. But it all started in Will Howard's development in spring practice, where Ryan Day was able to look at what he was doing, call him out, say things in a way that they would stick in Will Howard's brain. And Will Howard quickly changed his mechanics. It takes some time. There was some frustration, I'm sure, between him and Day still, based off why it was taking a little bit too long in Day's eyes for the mechanics to be changed. But it all worked out in the end. And for Julian Sayin, I think it all will work out in the end. And I'm putting a lot of, like, a cold open in this show. Julian Sayin's best football may be in this upcoming season. Well, the word may is, I think it is, but I'm not playing the football. I'm not the one playing the football. I think for Julian Sayin, he can win the Heisman next year. I'm not saying he's going to. I have a legit belief that he can win. Same with Jeremiah Smith. If Jeremiah Smith does not get hurt this year, and he's not playing the game against Michigan, where it's his first time getting back on the field in a few weeks in a consistent role, you could see Jeremiah Smith have a stronger game. You could see Carnell Tate have a stronger game. I think that injury really hurt Jeremiah Smith's opportunity to be a Heisman finalist this year. I don't know if he would have won. I don't think he would have won because Mendoza was the Heisman winner, and he earned that right this year. And if I had a vote, it would have probably gone to Fernando Mendoza, as much, even though I know, like, he doesn't throw the ball like Stroud. He doesn't have Fields like athleticism and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't have some of those traits that those guys have. But Mendoza was the guy this year. Diego Pavia, okay. Good season. Really good season. He didn't do the things that Fernando Mendoza did. Also, one thing to help Mendoza, it's not a knock on him. Julian Sayin had the same benefit. Their schedules were not that difficult. You look at both of them. Both teams played Penn State. You had Indiana played Washington. Oh, no, excuse me. Ohio State played Washington. IU played Iowa. Okay, those are two respected programs. IU's biggest rival, Purdue, was trash once again. So even though the paths were pretty easy in the regular season, you realize that Mendoza did some really good things in the playoff that cemented and confirmed why he won the Heisman Trophy, where Sayin also confirmed why he didn't win it. But he can next year. And Ryan Day must make sure that early on in the offseason, even right now, he is pinpointing areas where Sayin can improve and showing those to him and encouraging him to work on his game to make sure that things get better. The one area that I think Ryan Day needs to kind of shorten the leash when it comes to his quarterbacks is allowing them to run situationally. Now, I'm not saying you run like a Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick. I'm not going that far. Even a Johnny Manziel. I'm not saying you run like that. But this is not the first time a quarterback at Ohio State has legs good enough to get a first down on 3rd and 5 when there's a wide open path there, but he's staying behind the line of scrimmage trying to move the ball down with his arm. Ryan Day was very vocal a year ago, well, a couple of years ago now, when Will Howard came in saying, we need to be able to get 3 yards on 4th and 2. How we get it, we got to figure that out. But we have to be able to get 3 yards on 4th and 2. And there were times Ryan Day trusted Will Howard's body and his legs to get those 3 yards on 4th and 2. We also saw previously under Ryan Day where it seemed like we were trying to want to pull our hair out. Many of y'all watching right now on the YouTube, y'all say your boy doesn't have that much hair. It's not a hat day on the show, so the hair is out. But Fields could have ran more. He didn't. I think it was a Ryan Day thing. It's just a gut feeling. Stroud didn't really use his legs until the Georgia game, and everybody and their mama was thinking, why didn't you do this in the regular season? Why didn't you play like your back was up against the wall and just let it loose out there on the field in the regular season? Because if you did, you may have beaten Michigan. I don't know. That 2022 season was a little bit weird, to be honest with you. I don't know. We know what Michigan was doing. We know that Ohio State, you would think that Ohio State would have had a better showing in that game. And I don't know if what Michigan was doing to prepare for the game caused that margin to be so wide. I don't know. I don't know. But Stroud didn't really use his legs like that. McCord was less athletic than others, which is a big reason why I don't think Ryan Day really wanted him to. Not saying he's not athletic, but Ryan Day at times has not allowed his quarterbacks, we believe, it's a gut feeling, that he hasn't allowed his quarterbacks to run the ball in times when they could. For Sayin next year, that scenario where he can grow and raise his own draft stock. I don't believe there are NFL scouts right now looking at Sayin and saying, oh, man, he can't throw the ball. No, he's a really good thrower. He has really good accuracy. His timing is impeccable. There was so many great traits about Sayin. One area that I think every NFL team would love to see him improve is moving with his legs. If he figures that out, if his internal clock turns off and he doesn't stay behind the line of scrimmage, but he knows the ball has to get out at some point to some area, either my arm throwing it out of bounds, either my legs moving past the line of scrimmage, whatever the case may be, if he figures that part out, watch out, America. Because you're going to be looking at a quarterback in Julian Sayin that is going to be taking the next step or taking a few more steps up to be closer to winning the Heisman Trophy and have a shot to win a national championship. And he honestly, it's a little bit weird. He was a transfer, so I can't say he would be the first guy that Ryan Day recruited and committed to Ohio State to win a national championship. I almost made that comment, but then I remembered he went to Alabama. He was there for a few weeks and then transferred to Ohio State after Saban retired. And so it would still be another transfer quarterback that won the national, if that happens, the national championship in 2026. I don't know. This transfer portal world is a little bit weird. Maybe Ryan Day needs to get a transfer quarterback and at all times to get the best quarterback play he's ever going to get at Ohio State. I don't know. We're kind of spinning our wheels here now because I'm talking to you as I'm thinking in my head about, wow, Sayin's path to Ohio State is not the same as Will Howard, but they both came in the same way, not the same time in their careers, but we'll see what Sayin does in the fall. I think it's going to be a good year for him, a good time for him. And Ryan Day is going to be very, very pivotal to help Sayin develop and to be the best quarterback he can be. Speaking of quarterbacks, Ohio State's QB room has a different vibe to it. I'll tell you why after the break. Being a quarterback at Ohio State is a high honor. And when kids are in high school and they are discussing where they might play football, if they have an Ohio State offer, that offer is weighted in a different way than the other offers on the table. Ryan Day has done a great job of developing quarterbacks and getting them into the NFL. Billy Fessler has done a great job with multiple quarterbacks, developing them and quickly changing them to be better quarterbacks early in that season. And so when you look at Ohio State's QB room this year, it's a different dynamic because of the guys in it, but the dynamic is still going to be the same because it's Ohio State. You know you have to work. You know that being the quarterback at Ohio State, being the starting QB, is the highest honor in the sport. And so when you have that right in front of you and you understand how you got there and why you're there, it's going to help you be a better piece of the pie for the quarterbacks at Ohio State. And the vibe at Ohio State in the QB room this year is a little bit different because you literally have a guy that transferred to Ohio State that could have gone to a different power conference school and started in Justyn Martin. At the top, it's easy. It's Julian Sayin, starting quarterback last year. He is the expected starter. He is going to start next year as well. Tavion St. Clair in year 2, redshirted last year. He's going to be a really big piece of the Buckeyes offense in the future. You have Luke Fahey, incoming freshman out of a high school in California, and then Justyn Martin, transfer from Maryland. Justyn Martin was in the QB competition at Maryland last season. He got hurt in game number 1 for the Terps and then missed the rest of the season. They played a true freshman quarterback last year who played pretty good, better than I think you would expect a true freshman quarterback to play in the Big Ten. But when you look at it, Justyn Martin's veteran presence, he's been at a few schools. He knows what it means to be on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and different coaches. And he can bring all that experience and knowledge into the QB room and not only help Tavion St. Clair's development, he can also help Luke Fahey get quickly acclimated to what it means to be a football player in college football. Sayin already knows what it means to be there, but you add a guy that's been at a few stops, that's talented enough to be a starting quarterback at a different school in college, but he's coming to Ohio State, basically being a journeyman, saying, I want to end college football, my career, with a bang, that bang being a national championship. Well, that's going to help everybody in that room realize, oh, he has some stories. He's seen the good, he's seen the bad, and he can help us to know this is different and to make sure we keep our standard high. That's ultimately what Ryan Day wants to do. Anytime you bring somebody in, you want to make sure that that person keeps a standard high. And it's possible this year there's a legit competition for who the backup quarterback is this year. Saying it's QB1, there's no debate. That's not going to change. But maybe Ryan Day is saying for QB2, y'all going to compete. Is Justyn Martin going to start or is Tavion St. Clair going to start? One guy's more experienced, one guy's older. The other guy is green. He's very, very young. He doesn't know what it means to play football at a high level or consistently play in college. He doesn't know that yet. And so to me, that development, that piece there, the competition to be QB2, that is going to test Tavion St. Clair in a way that Ryan Day needs him to be tested to see what he is made of. We know the physical tools, 6'4", 225, that Tavion St. Clair brought to Columbus, Ohio, and his ability to make big throws on the football field when he got to school. So we know what we see in the high school level. We know what we see physically when we look at him in the pads. But one of the toughest things to do in football is to know how a person is going to be able to process things, process football from the high school to college level, and then from the college to the NFL level. A guy might get it. A guy might dominate in college, and you may think, man, he is going to be able to process. He's going to be able to see the defense so well. You get him to the NFL, he struggles. I'm going to push a button here that might be a little bit of a sore spot for some people. CJ Stroud was great in college. Phenomenal. But man, seeing him last weekend when he had, I believe it was 4 interceptions in the first half, the previous game in the wild card round, he had 4 fumbles in the first half. He lost 2 of them. Stroud was great. And somebody said that it's because he doesn't have the weapons. Are you sure? Because CJ Stroud doesn't look all the way there in the head right now. I'm not saying this is going to continue, but I don't think anybody that watched CJ Stroud play football when he was at Ohio State would have projected that by this point in his career, he would have back-to-back playoff games that were played this poorly. I don't think anybody would have done that. And if you did, great. That's cool. You projected it properly. Most people that would have been watching him at Ohio State would have said, no, he would have been one of the better young quarterbacks that Ohio State put into the NFL. Haskins, we all know what Haskins did. In his early years, struggled. Fields, same thing. Stroud showed flashes of good play. But man, oh man, this part right here is hard. And I think for Ryan Day, when it comes to Tavian St. Clair, that may have been a part of why he brought Justyn Martin in. Because he needed to figure out, is he ready to compete? Because if he's not ready to compete, maybe we have a real adult conversation with him and discuss why it might be best for us to get a transfer quarterback next offseason when Tavian St. Clair thinks he's the guy. But right now you can test him, test his mentals, test him physically, test to see what he is made of. Because if you test him in the ways that you should as a coach and you figure out, oh, no, he has the goods, check that box. But if you test him like you should as a coach and he falls, then you don't check that box and you find a backup plan. That ties into something else with Ryan Day that we're going to talk about more maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow's show is still up in the air in regards to what topics we'll hit on. But Ryan Day must make sure that he has a plan A, plan B, plan C, because you never know what's going to happen. But we recently talked about how Kurt Cignetti and the coaches discussed a 4th and 5 call for 45 minutes as far as what the call is going to be, what the look was going to be. If they got this look, they would go with this call. If they got that look, they would go with that call. But then Mendoza said, we literally had a call, and it was a check with me kind of call. Or if they come up with this look, we have this play. We come up with the different look, we have that play. He said it was zone over here, it was man over here. And I'm like, okay, he trusted himself. He trusted his own instincts. Well, the coach is also trusted Fernando Mendoza's instincts. They also knew that if they put the call in, he would make the right decision. They had a plan A, a plan B, plan C. They thoroughly talked through some things that are very difficult, but very important at the same time, and they worked out very well. Well, Ryan Day has to do the same thing. I'm not saying Ryan Day doesn't, but there are times that Ryan Day doesn't have a plan. That can't happen. That can't happen. It shouldn't happen in the past. It shouldn't happen now. It shouldn't happen in the future. You have to be prepared for every situation. It's college football. I don't want to be a person that says anything is possible, because I don't think a school like Ball State or a school like Kent State can win a national championship based off the donors and the boosters and the types of money that they're able to get thrown their way. I personally don't think Indiana's a different story, because Indiana boosters have a lot of money. Trust me, I know people that went to Indiana University outside of my mom. Trust me, they got money. A lot of Ball State donors have to do it as well, but I don't know if the administration is going to go all in on them winning a national championship in college football. So I don't want to say anything is possible, but Indiana just proved that there are programs that aren't blue bloods that can be turned around in 2 years to win a national championship in a power conference level. They had a plan in place. It worked out well. Ryan Day sees what they did, and he should be thinking, well, I got to get back to the drawing board to make sure I am prepared for every situation. Thank you all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes and for making this show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked on Buckeyes so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked on Buckeyes ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonbuckeyes.supercast.com or to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Football. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes on a Thursday. We'll see you next time.